Hi guys, today we're going to take a 2015 thriller drama movie, Landmine Goes Click. Spoiler ahead and let's begin. Alicia, Chris, and Daniel travel through Georgia. On their way, when Daniel leaves the car, Chris asks Alicia about telling Daniel about what they did, as they both have slept together. He thinks they should tell Daniel and apologize to him. Alicia thinks Daniel will get angry with her because she is his girlfriend, and they are about to get married. She thinks it's not a good idea to tell him about any of this, and asks him to not speak of it in front of Daniel. Daniel takes them through a plain and tells them stories about the place that it was a war zone, and a place where tanks, artillery, and landmines were common. He leads them through the journey and takes them to a ridge. Upon reaching there, as they enjoy the sight, suddenly he asks Chris to marry him and Alicia. She hesitates, but he thinks it would be a great experience to perform it in front of his friend only. At Daniel's request, Chris starts the ceremony, but then thinks it's a weird idea, so he does not continue. At night, when they all sit around the bonfire, Daniel feels something is bothering Chris. He tries to ask him, but he does not tell anything, and just says he is happy for both of them. Both Daniel and Alicia assure him that he won't be left out even after they get married. Alicia gets up to go to sleep, but before they go, Chris completes the ceremony and asks Daniel to kiss her. They thank him and go inside the camp. The next morning, when Chris wakes up, he sees a man stealing their stuff. He grabs him and shouts at him, but he says he is Davy, a friend of Alicia and Daniel. Upon hearing the two of them fighting, Daniel and Alicia come and confirm that he is one of their friends and introduce him to Chris. Davy brings the camera and asks them to pose for a picture. As they take the positions, Chris accidentally steps on a mine. Danny realizes the situation and instructs him to stay there without making a move. Chris does not believe and thinks they are only messing with him, but Daniel shows him a mine. As he gets afraid, they calm him down and assure him that they will find a way to help him out. Davy says he would have to go find help, but in the meantime, asks everyone else to stay away from him if they don't want to get hurt in case it explodes. When he leaves, Daniel asks Alicia to go behind the rock to ensure her safety. She hesitates, but as he keeps insisting, she agrees and asks Daniel to come with her. He refuses and says he will stay there with Chris. As he seems worried, Chris tries to calm him down and says he will be fine and will attend his wedding as his best man. Daniel receives a signal and calls to ask for help. He talks on the phone and asks the other person to trace his call and bring help to rescue Chris. After the call, she talks to Alicia and tells him that the person he was talking to has all the equipment they need, but he's not going to send it. Alicia gets confused and asks again, and Daniel says they don't help prostitutes. Alicia realizes he has known the truth about her and Chris. She asks Chris about this, and he admits that he has told Daniel everything about them. She tries to talk to Daniel and asks him to call for help again, but he refuses and tells her there was never a signal to begin with, and he was just faking it. She tells him that she wanted to tell him but couldn't. She tries to explain it to him, but he does not accept the apology. Instead, he makes fun of them. Daniel goes to Chris and tells him that he has not stepped on the mine by mistake, but it was Daniel who has planned all of this because he knew exactly where the mines are. He accepts that he has left it there only to take revenge on him. Then he gives a shovel to Alicia and asks her to dig a trench if she wants to save him. Daniel further tells him that he has planned this with Davy, and now digging a hole is their only way out. Chris thinks he is lying, but Daniel pulls a pin out of the ground and explains that without the pin, the mine will 100% explode. Alicia asks for his mercy, but he doesn't care. Chris apologizes to him, but he shouts at him for making love with Alicia. Chris asks for the pin, but Daniel throws it down the mountain. Alicia tries to stop him and says that it's her fault, but Daniel doesn't change his mind and leaves. Chris asks Alicia to stay away from him. Alicia screams in disbelief, and Chris asks her to go behind the rock so she can be safe in case the mine explodes. As they're trying to figure out how to get out of this situation, Daniel goes to Davy and asks him to leave. Davy thinks they have planned to watch them for some time and then help them out, but Daniel asks him to leave and let them figure it out by themselves. Alicia goes and brings the pin back. She tries to plug it in, but it gets stuck and she cannot pull it out. Chris panics and asks her if the pin is plugged in so he can step out, but she stops him from doing it because the pin does not work. He asks her to stay away, and he will step out, but she does not let him, and sets up a smoke signal hoping someone would see it and come to their rescue. As the pin doesn't work, she says she has to dig, as Daniel said. As she is digging, a man named Elia shows up with his dog attacking Chris. When Alicia tries to keep the dog away with the help of shovel, Elia points the gun at them. Alicia explains the situation to him, but she's digging a hole. So Elia thinks they have murdered someone and buried the body there. He points the gun at Chris and asks him to move because he thinks they are lying to him about the mine. When he fires and Chris still stands there, he realizes they're telling the truth. She tells him how she has planned to dig a hole and he will jump. Elia makes fun of her idea, but agrees to help her. He throws a stone at Chris to further verify that they are speaking the truth. Chris and Alicia yell at him, but he says he constantly visits the place and never heard of anything like that. He asks about what happened. Alicia tells him that her boyfriend set this up. Chris asks not to tell him the whole story, but he insists to know. Alicia tells him what happened. After listening to the story, Elia shames her for doing this to her boyfriend. Elia finally agrees to help, but asks what he will get in return. They let him take whatever he wants. He searches their bags for anything valuable. He tries to take advantage of her, but Chris stops him and gives him all his money, his credit cards for his help, but he refuses to take the money and grabs Alicia again and asks her to undress. As Alicia goes to the tent, he asks her to do it in front of him. Chris tries to threaten him by telling his friends will come back with help, but Elia knows he is just trying to fool him because if his friends were coming, they would not ask for his help. Alicia agrees to give him whatever he wants. Chris gets hyper and tries to step off the mine because he thinks it won't explode in the presence of the pin. Alicia stops him and confesses that she lied about the pin because he was freaking out and she wanted to help. She asks Elia to start digging. He asks her to further explain how she wants the hole to be dug. He doesn't want to help them, but he just wants to take advantage of the situation, so he keeps on messing with them. He receives a call on his radio. Alicia and Chris both ask him to let them make a call for help, but again he asks for a favor in return. She requests him to let her use the radio for calls, and she will do as he says. He takes her underwear and throws it away. Then he asks her to bring it back, but she has to walk like a dog if she needs his help. Alicia does not accept his condition and starts to dig, but she realizes she won't be able to do it, so she agrees to do as he says. She starts to walk, and when she brings it back, he asks her to do it again, because she has used his hands instead of taking it in the mouth, just like the dog. She does as he says, and he gives him the radio to make a call. She calls, but the other person does not know English. She tries to explain, but they don't understand, and to translate, they need Elia's help again, and he again asks her to remove another piece of her clothing. Alicia does not accept and starts to dig. They again receive a call, and Elia asks her to tell them that he is fine, and they don't need their help. She agrees, and he translates the line, but they don't understand, and for translating again, he again asks for a favor. Alicia cries. Chris asks her to calm down. He distracts Elia and tells Alicia to run. Elia chases after her. After a while, Chris hears her screaming for help. He tries to grab the gun, and when Elia comes back with her, Chris points the gun at him, but he uses Alicia as his shield and asks him to shoot. Then he hurts her with his knife and forces himself on her in front of Chris. She cries for help, but Chris cannot do anything other than just standing there helpless. After a while, Alicia gets a hold of the knife, and Chris tells her to come to him. Chris is ready to shoot Elia, but the dog pushes him. Chris accidentally shoots Alicia and is knocked out by the dog. The mine didn't explode because it was fake. Elia leaves them there, and Chris cries for help with Alicia in his arms. The scene is cut to a woman and her daughter talking in Georgia language. Chris comes to their home and asks for help by telling them that his car ran out of gas. He asks them for a map to find his way. The girl, Liga, says she can give him a print from her computer. Her mother, Tanya, introduces herself and her daughter to him and invites him in. Once inside, he asks for a restaurant nearby so he can find something to eat, but the women say there are no restaurants in the area, so Liga invites him for lunch with them. Chris joins them and praises them for inviting him to lunch. Elia comes back because it was his home where Chris has come to ask for help. When Chris introduces himself to him, Elia gets shocked. Tanya thinks they both know each other, but Chris denies it and says he never met him before. Elia asks Chris to come with him, and he will help him find his way. Chris says let him finish his meal first. Elia does not agree, but his wife scolds him for keeping that behavior with the guest. Chris invites him to join as well, but he refuses. He asks Tanya for some more food, but Elia stops her from bringing it and takes him out. Before leaving, Chris admires Liga and tries to talk to her, but Elia insists on leaving. When they come out of the house, he asks Chris to leave his family out of this and meet him after some time to settle the dispute. Chris agrees and leaves their house. After his departure, Elia runs back to the house. His wife serves him the meal and tries to talk to him, but he seems disturbed and does not respond. He gets worried about his family because he thinks Chris would try to hurt them. As he sits there thinking, he hears his dog barking and looks around, but cannot get a sight of anyone. Meanwhile, Chris comes at their door again with the injured dog and tells them he was hit by a vehicle and he has brought it back. When Elia comes back and sees Chris there, Elia pulls out his gun and tries to shoot Chris. Chris says he knows it's not loaded and then shoots Elia with his pistol. His wife and daughter come outside and Chris says he just wanted to help their dog, but Elia tried to shoot him, so he shot Elia as self-defense. His wife asks Chris to put the gun away and she will do whatever he says. He asks them to get him inside. He abuses Tanya. Elia gets angry and shouts at him. When Tanya and Liga take Elia inside, he asks Tanya to tie her mother up. Tanya offers him money to leave, but he doesn't accept. He asks Liga again to tie her mom's hands. When she hesitates, he fires at the mirror and forces her to do so. Elia asks Chris to kill him, but he asks Elia to tell his wife and daughter what he did. He apologizes and blames it on his drinking problems. Chris mocks him and says if drinking was to blame, then he should have a drink to make it a fair play. After the drink, he grabs Liga and tells her to take off her underwear as Elia did to Alicia. When she hesitates, he threatens to shoot her mother. Liga does as he says, but he throws it away and asks her to bring it back to him like a dog. When she brings it back, he again throws it near Elia and asks her to bring it back with her mouth. He puts it in Elia's mouth and commands him to not drop it, otherwise he will shoot his daughter. Elia tries to speak, but he points the gun at Liga and forces him to put it back in his mouth and stay away. He grabs Liga's neck and chokes her while telling the story of Alicia and how he managed to bring her from the mountain, but she lost too much blood and died. He forces Liga to look in her father's eyes because he wants to hurt Elia the same way he did to him and Alicia. He drinks again and proceeds to play Russian roulette with her, and she has to undress every time he pulls the trigger. Liga cries, but Chris doesn't care, and Tanya tries to attack him but fails. Elia begs him to leave her and tries to get up, but he cannot due to a bullet in his leg. Elia again begs him to leave his daughter, and he will do whatever he wants. But Chris orders him to ask his daughter to undress. They all beg and try to stop him, but he doesn't listen, and then he pulls the trigger, and Liga gets shot. Chris gets shocked. He did not plan to kill her too soon or even plans to kill her at all. He sits in the corner in disbelief, while Elia and his wife cry for their daughter. Revenge doesn't bring him joy like he thought it would. This is where the movie ends. Let me know what you think about how this went. Subscribe to watch more videos like this, turn on notifications, and leave a like. It really helps the channel out. Thank you for watching. Thank you for watching.